Welcome back to another video in our programming using Visual Basic. In this tutorial lesson, we're going to look at string handling. And we're going to look at identify and describe concatenation and explore the use of string handling. So strings can be added together. They can be joined together. And this is called string concatenation. Concatenation means joining something together. So for example, I have two variables called surname and forename. I've stored Thomas to surname and Danny to forename. And I've then used concatenation to then send a message saying, hello, forename and symbol, forename and symbol, put a space, and symbol, and then surname. And this will join it together. So it will then say, hello, Danny Thomas. You can then compare. So for example, A is A less than B, okay, which would come up as true because A is before B. Martin is less than Paul, which is true because Martin is before Paul in the alphabet. It's looking up the M and the P. Apple is greater than ball. It's false because A comes before B in the alphabet. And some examples here, you can look at length. So the length of a string. So if name equals John, then length name is 4. You've got to upper, which changes it to uppercase. So name dot to upper will make John. To lower makes it all lowercase. Substring then splits it. So for example, name dot substring in this example, we'll look at 3, 2, so it would be THOMA. So that would come up with ma, so M and A. Trim means you remove spaces from the start and the end of a string. So if you've got a space, name.trim will then take off any spaces at the start and the end. Index of, it looks for the position of a value. So for example, Tom at Jones will make index of at will be 3 because programming starts, anything in programming starts at number 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Insert means you insert at a position. So insert 4, Bart would then add Bart as the 4th value there. And remove means then you can remove a value and it will take something off there. So 4, 5. Here, 4th one, this is Bart. I think the 5th is the last from the end. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll be, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll take Bart off. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. And I'm going to create a app, and this time what this is going to do is it is going to take two lists and it will split the lists in two. It will split the lists in two depending on where they are in the alphabet. So if the names that I enter start with the letters A to L, it goes in list 1. M to Z, it goes in list 2, and it will sort it. And if I press XXX, it ends. So I'll call this challenge 1. So, just save that. We'll just save what I had before. I'm going to create some items on here. So I need to take a label at the very top, and that label will say, please enter name or xxx to end. Okay, so that should have that, and then I put a text box in here, and we'll call this txt name. So I'll say txt name, just to make this clear. Then I'm going to have a button. We'll have a button here, and we'll say btn add name, and so at the bottom we'll say add name. And then I'll have two lists. We'll call this one list 1, and we'll call this one list 2. So we'll call this LST1, and we'll call this one LST2. Okay, very simple. Next part, I want to add the name here. So in this case, I want to be able to take some values here. So I need to add something in here. So I'm probably going to have dim, and I'll say name as a string, because this will be a variable, and it will then add txt name dot text is the text box. So I need to take whatever is entered in txt name and store it as our name variable. So whatever we type into here, we store it in here. Okay, then I need to check the items here. Okay, I need to check what whether it begins with between A or L, or whether it begins or if it's not. So I only need to check if it's A to L. And so I probably need to take a substring for this. Okay, so I'm going to say if, and in this case, I'm going to say if name dot substring. Will substring appear in here? Yes, substring. Okay, comma 1. Okay, let's just check to see what value this actually comes up as first. Before I do this, let's just have a message box and see what this actually appears. Okay, let's see what this appears first. So if we press the play button, we can test this out. There's a good way of testing. So if I add Jenny, add name, it then gives me any, which I don't want to see. I want to just have the first letter, so we need to come back. I need the first letter, so it'll be 0, and perhaps let's say comma 1. Let's have a look, see what happens. Jenny. It's showing me J, which is great. So it's showing me the first letter, 0 to 1. It doesn't do the next one, so it only does J, which is great. So that's good. I then want to have an if here. If this substring, okay, is equals to what? What do we want it equals to? If that's equals to, if it's less than perhaps, less than L or M. Let's say if M. Okay, so if M, and let's just say we'll have another message box here. So we'll just put a test one here. List one, and then if it's not, we'll put an else. It'll just have another message box, and it'll say list box 2. So we can test these out and see if it works. This is how you do it. You don't do a program completely from the type it all at the very start. You test it out. So let's have a look. What's happening here? Oh, good. Just close that. Run it. Let's just see what the error is. M is not declared. Because I need to put M in speech marks here because it's not coding. Okay, so I'm going to run that again. So it's got this. If I type Jenny, it should say list 1, which is good. If I add Louise, it should say list 1, which is good. And if I say Michael, it will say list 2. Yes. Okay, so we've got, so we've already, so now we've already said using a substring, if it's less than M, it will add it into the 2 places, which is great. Okay, so now I want to add this, so I want to say list 1, so lst1 dot items. Okay, so is there an items one here? Dot add, which there is. And in terms of this, I want to say name. Okay, and same with the next one. I want to say list 2, we add in here. So let's test this one out. Okay, so if I see add, it'll put that in there. Louise, adds it in the next one. We probably want to have them on a new line, but we could do this later. Michael, add, it puts it there, which is great. So they are going in, which is good. We probably want to add them on a new line, but we can come back to that later. So we've got this working, but if we press XXX, and I forgot to try this, XXX, it will add it to the list, and I don't want that. So I need to then have a do while. Okay, do while name is not equals to XXX. In this case, and I just want to make sure I indent these in. So do while this is not equals to this, okay? And so we can see if this works. In fact, probably must end loop at the bottom. Okay, like so. Let's just test it. It doesn't let me do that, okay, but it does prevent me from adding that in, which is good. What I need to try and do, though, is to exit the program when I do this. Obviously, that would work if I had a window open, but in this case, it's not. So I need to do something else. So let's just remove the do while, and we'll remove the loop at the bottom, and then just unindent these. And what we'll do is we'll just add an else if. Okay, so I will add an if. I will say is if name is equals to XXX, then we want it to end. Okay. Otherwise, if the name is less than M, it will then add to list 1. If it's less than, if it's not, then it will add to list 2. Let's just run this and see if it works. So if I had Jenny, it should add to list 1. Michael, it'll add to list 2. and then XXX, it will exit. And now for your challenges. First one, the email address of employees in a company called Busy Bee Limited is made from the first two letters of their first name, their surname, and the department they work in. For example, Mary Smith in the accounts has an email address, ma.smith@accounts.busybee.com. James Davis in sales has an email address, ja.davis@sales.busybee.com. Write a program that allows an employee to enter their full name and the department they work in, like sales, accounts, or maintenance, and outputs their email address. And an online music and computer games company codes each item it sells with a unique 6-character code. First two characters must be either CD for CDs or DV for DVDs. The remaining 4 characters must be numerical digits. So valid ones would be like CD 56321, DV 6700, CD 0018. Invalid is like CD 431. They have to they have to have 6 characters, so that's only got 5. DW 7891 because it's DW, not DV. DV 567G, it's got a letter at the end. Write a program that inputs a code and fully validates it. If an incorrect code is found, then the user must enter another code. When a valid code is entered, the program ends. And then good luck. I look forward to seeing what you come up with.